Can you get it?
Okay, awesome. Yay. All right. I just want to welcome everyone back to another episode of Cozett Contemplates. And I am beyond stoked with my special guest today. I am over the top excited, so please forgive me because you'll probably feel that energy coming off of me. But I'm just really so excited to have with me Desired Toia's LaToia Glatt
That's me.
Smith. Y'all, here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, she is a
Sorry.
powerhouse of a creative, and she is doing some really great things in this city. She is shaking things up. And LaToia, I have just been watching you, your tenacity, how you have gone after the vision in your heart. And I got to say, I am in awe. So welcome. Thank you for coming and for
No
being here.
problem. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the times when I hear that, I'm kind of like, me? I'm kind of just doing my own thing, staying in my own lane. So when I hear like people come to me and say different stuff like that, it's always like kind of like a shocker, like, oh, okay, well, I get it, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. All right. So before we get into the questions, first thing I want to do is ask, where can people find you? Are you on social media? How can people find you?
Yeah, so I am on all social media platforms.
Okay.
And so it just depends on what side of me you want to see, because there's
Okay.
Desired Toia, of course. But then there's also, of course, LaToia Glatt Smith, that most people kind of know me by.
Okay.
And so that is just kind of like my maiden name. And then also I have taken back on my well, I'm gonna keep the Glatt in there for now because most people kind of know me by that. But rumors out, we are now, kind of doing our own little things. So things are changing, but changing for the good. So I just kind of want people to understand me on different levels. So that's where there's the LaToia Glatt Smith, and then there's also Desired Toia. So most people know me though from Desired Toia, and so that will be on Instagram, Desired Toia. You can find that also on TikTok. You can also find it on Facebook.
Okay.
But on Facebook alone, it's LaToia Glatt Smith. If you want to find me on Facebook.
Okay. Awesome. 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 All right. So before we get started, I want to use one of my quotes off of my own Instagram. And
Okay.
you can find my Instagram at Cozett Dunn, COZETTDUNN. So here is the quote. And this quote just seemed so apropos when I came across it. I was like, yeah, this one's for LaToia because she brings the house down with this kind of stuff. Okay, so the quote is this: not all expressions are art, but all art is expression. What is your form? What is your point? How someone conveys is as important as what they are conveying. Okay. So, LaToia, I see you as a catalyst. Okay.
Okay.
You are a game changer, and I find a great deal of resonance with you because you are not one of these people who are just like selectively identifiable. You can't be pigeonholed.
Yeah.
Okay. You are multifaceted and you put those facets on display with such courage and tenacity. And it is just awe-inspiring. It is just awe-inspiring. So when you hear that quote, what are your thoughts in light of that? in your own art, your own expressions?
Yeah, I think it fits the bill like perfectly. And I think it fits the bill for the art that I do specifically, which kind of ties into Desire Toia and then leading into Seductive Desire, which kind of started after Desire Toia. It's just kind of something that so I started a project with Desire Toia. Most people don't know. You would be the first one that's kind of like getting the information out there. But I originally started her because I wanted people to kind of be surprised, like, hey, like she's a mom. What's going on here? Like something's going on. But it mainly was just because I wanted to feel free. Like I wound up just doing this photo shoot with a friend. We went out to the lake and I was like, I don't know why, but I just want to get in the water, like just take the pictures and we just go from there. And so just seeing those pictures and then how, she edited them and, what she saw in me, I was like, well, I really kind of want to take this a little bit deeper because after posting those pictures, I had so many women and men and, different things reach out to me on different levels. Of course, there was the sexual aspect of it. But then there was the empowerment aspect of, women kind of telling me, well, I would not be able to do that, but thank you for doing it because of so on and so forth and the issues that they were having at that time, with their body image. And that's when I was like, we as women are put in tough positions all the time. And so I was like, let me start Desire Toia. Let me kind of show people that it's okay to just be you no matter what. Because at that point, and I don't really talk about it, but I was depressed. I was like, down deep, 260 something pounds almost, over that. And I wasn't in a good headspace. But then when people would see me out, they were like, well, you walk with so much confidence and you this and you that. And I'm like, when I'm at home though, like it's crazy. So I just wanted to be able to create something to show that quote in itself that we are our own little vessel of a something. Like I always look at myself as just I am me. I'm only controllable of me. I can't be controllable of anyone else or what they do. I can only be controllable of myself. And so at the end of the day, I know that I'm a sexual person. That's just who I've always been. It comes from my history, which is things that I don't talk about. So after creating Desire Toia and Seductive Desire kind of came because I kind of realized like with starting that, meeting you guys, for the very first time doing a photo shoot, to seeing the confidence levels and how it was able to kind of like build you guys. And I was like, no, we gotta do something with this. And so that's kind of where the platform came from is I wanted everyone. And, in that photo shoot, I had people who never met each other. Yes. You guys never met each other. I had never met most of you. And so it was just like a big start to like, letting women see themselves for who they were. And it doesn't have to be bad. Because I remember like whenever we were getting ready, people were just like, oh, well, I don't like this about me, or I don't want this, or I don't like that. And so figuring all of that out and then later figuring out that men suffer with this too. And so how important that is to show that things may look good on the outside, but deep down there is a whole lot more at play. And so how do we get that out? How do we get people to understand us on a different level of sometimes we all might feel like I just don't give a fuck. Yeah. And that's okay. And that's okay. And so that's the whole vision. And I think that's what that means is that being able to take art and make it into, something that others can enjoy as well, but without pressure. Because when we're out, there's a picture or an image that we have to uphold. And what does that look like when we take that barrier down in a sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, gosh, there's so much there. That's amazing. So when I think about this, you've mentioned desired Toya, seductive desire. And so it's making me think about, these are your forms of expression, right? So talk to me a little bit about the two, I guess these are two arms of what you're doing, your passion project. So talk to our viewers about desired Toya and seductive desire, what they are and how they serve artistically in our community.
Mhm. So Desire Toya is actually a body imagery project that I've been working on for the last 2 years. Um, I didn't want to take someone else and use them as an example of, I didn't want to make them a subject. And so I wanted to do kind of like a social media experiment with the Desired Toya, just to kind of see how people would take it, the whole, and at that time frame, BBW was like a big thing. And so being BBW, being, overweight and obese, like we go through other things besides just looking pretty on the outside or just being BBW or whatever. And so I wanted to take Desired Toya and just kind of see where it would go. It took its own turn, and I just kind of ran with it because, you just do the things in life that just come. And so I done that. But the whole thing, the whole reason for it was to kind of give women a little bit more of empowerment to know that even though you're a mom, even though you're a businesswoman, even though you're all of these things, I have an associate's, I have my technical degree in aesthetics, I've owned businesses for years, and that's all people saw of me, or they saw, my husband, or that I was a mother. It was never like, I really see who Toya was. And so when I started it, I was like, I got to come up with a name. And what can I do? And the reason why it's Desire Toya is because it's the Toya that I always desired to be. And so most people look at it as like, oh, well, she's desirable. And no, this is just the desired Toya that I always wanted to be. This is just me starting from where I was at in a really bad headspace, in a really bad, overweight and things like that. I started to work on myself mentally. I started seeing therapists. I started, having life coaches. I've been doing the work. When I say, all the way down to people that I've, had confrontation with in the past, having to forgive, having to, right my wrongs. And so that's where Desired Toya comes from. It's literally just the Toya that I desire to be in life. And so that'll all come around, and people will kind of understand what I mean by that in May. And so that person and everything that came with the Desired Toya, because the whole objective was for me to be sexual throughout the entire thing of it. I just didn't want there to be any nudity. I wanted it to be bare form art. I used my whole body from toes to head to literally take pictures, like from angles, different angles to, how I had dressed. And I took all of those pictures and I literally only posted the ones that I absolutely hated about myself. Wow. But my page wound up blowing up. And I wasn't expecting that at all. I just kind of was like, well, these people, they'll get to see it. And then I'll just put up this art project and it'll just kind of be a Chattanooga thing. And then when the Desire Toya started and people were requesting, then I was like, well, I've got to take like all of this art stuff and put everything that I've been hearing, people going through. And I wanted to create an event or a space to have people just kind of come out and be themselves. That's all I wanted. I just wanted people who were kind of like me or had a conversation like me could come out and just be themselves and be free. That's all I wanted. And then we sold out our first night show at Seductive Desire, which we had poets, there was singers, there was dancers, we had some burlesque going on. And I just took all of these art forms and I wanted to just create a positive space. And I didn't want everybody to look the same. I didn't want everybody to, be this perfect size. I wanted everybody to be different. And at that time, I was bigger. I was like 266 pounds and I was on stage myself. And people were like, well, you're not going to perform? I'm like, heck no, ain't no way. Especially because I was already self-conscious because I was wearing lingerie. And people don't know, like most people think that it's like really easy for me. But when it's in front of everyone, it's a whole nother ball. It's a whole nother ballgame. So people tell me all the time, well, you seem so free. And literally it's because it's like roles are reversed where you're supposed to look out into the audience and they're supposed to be naked, but now like you're the one. And so, it's like, haha, y'all got on clothes.
That is so funny.
So, yeah, that's how they started. And so Seductive Desire now, though, over the years, we just kind of taken everything, like all of the community involvement, things that we talk about as we're on stage, because we do more of a dialogue. And so we've taken all of that and just kind of made it into this, some people will call it a sex show. Yes, we do things like that, but it's more education. So we try to teach a lot about kink, BDSM, intimacy, sexual health, just bringing all of that together, because even though Desire Toia stands on stage and kind of talks to everyone, I wanted there to be a way that we could get certain resources out. So I started networking with the Simpa Foundation, a step ahead, talking to these different people, just kind of seeing how we can start getting information out and what that would even look like. Because my very first show, I was handing out condoms. Like we had image like throwing them out throughout the whole event. And then somebody made a comment and they were like, we'll need these, we'll use them. And I was like, oh no. So we've got to figure out, like, that's when I realized that it wasn't a joke. It was like, we really got people out here who are adults who still don't know. And so how can we even be willing to teach the community about anything if the adults don't even know, if we aren't educated ourselves? So I had to kind of draw things back and like really dive deep into what I wanted the community to kind of know about themselves. Because yeah, we see ourselves, we know that we're, like you said earlier, anxiety, depression, like we know all of these things, but how do we manage them? And unfortunately in my community, mainly, we don't really take like mental health as serious as we should. And that's been the biggest thing, is just making sure that my community is not left behind. At the end of the day, we have, teen pregnancy rates extremely high. We have sexual assaults, those are extremely high. So we talk about these things and we use art to talk about this. In our very last show, I had an artist who literally, she works on the pole. And when you think about pole dance, you just think, strippers, so on and so forth. But we take art so seriously that even when they're on the pole, they prepare for that all the way up until. And she gave such an emotional performance of just constantly going up that pole. And I'm getting chills just thinking about it, because I never realized that you could bring art to a stage. And even though people are in lingerie, even though they are, whatever, they're in their bare form, whatever they choose to be in, at that moment, they're still able to give the artistic aspect of what they want you to see. And so I've taken this platform and just kind of created this in a sense of, now you got the information, now you've got the entertainment. How can we get it out there? And how can we take all of these platforms and just kind of create, from here? And so they just kind of ran in together. I don't even know. I don't know.
It just sounds like it, this may sound cliche, but it's like it was all meant to be. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it sounds like it has just organically unfolded that way.
It has. And even still, like I wound up just cutting everything out because I was like, I don't want to rush into anything anymore. I don't want to feel bad energy around anything. I really just want to stop and think about where this is going. And so I just put a stop to everything this year. And 2023 has been eating my mouth out already. And we haven't even made it there. Made it there. So the journey has been well worth it with the fold. I don't know how I got here. I don't know it how it formed, but I think it's more than what we can all see.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. That is amazing. So let me ask you a couple of questions about Desired Toia and Seductive Desire. Let me think, hang on, let me get my little list here again. What do you feel that this message of be yourself, be beautiful, bare, and authentic, and that is the highest form of art, right? What do you feel like this message is leading to?
Honestly, I can only speak for myself and what I'm hoping that the messages that I'm giving. But mainly, I want people to understand that whether you're boring, whether you're on 10, there are going to be people who just will not appreciate you. They're not going to appreciate anything. And with Seductive Desire and Desired Toya, I know all the time that people are talking about me. An overweight woman on a stage, moving around. I can't dance. I can barely do half of the stuff that I do. So I just want people to know that it's okay to be that free. Like you don't have to be that free all the time, but there is times and places. But it's okay. It's okay to be you. Society tries to mold us into what they want us to be. And I think now it's time to kind of, I'm gonna say it, break the chains. It's time to put on
Yes.
big girl panties, it's time to be adults. If we're really gonna be adult about it, then let's be adult about it and let's have the serious adult conversations because it breaks down the wall of everybody out here uneducated and something that I've been asking my crew lately is when you were in the room the first time that you done it with anybody, was your parents in the room? Because how awkward would that be? And so I'm taking life like that. Like my parents aren't in the room whenever it comes to certain things. And so you got to kind of let go of that, let go and just let go of what society is putting on you and just be who you are.
Mm, wow. That is a really powerful illustration. I really, really like that. Um, so you had mentioned something about May.
Mhm.
Is that you have an event you have or even other events? What do you have in the works? What do you have
Yeah,
in the works?
so I guess I'll go ahead and use this as our kind of like push. But yeah, so next year, 2023, Seductive Desire is officially going public.
Oh,
We it's so scary because we've been just private events up until now, but yeah, starting in February, March, April, we will be going back and forth between here and Atlanta. We also have some stuff going on here in May, leading up until then. In May, it is going to be the Hunter Museum. So we will be doing a body imagery project. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier. But now that has over time just kind of turned into like a 3-day project. So We have backing from the city of Chattanooga. They will be letting us use the downtown Chattanooga area, their amphitheater, on May the 5th for an event that we will be doing, a sexual health event. And so this is called In Our Skin. And so we will be bearing it all. And you, Miss Cozett, will definitely be in the house, right?
Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, I will. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but
Right.
yes, I'm going to be there.
Yeah, but we kind of talked about it. And
Yeah.
then we'll be, of course, having our Seductive Desire show on May the 6th. So all of that information will be dropping on January the 1st. So just stay on the lookout. If you're not following the pages, Seductive Desire Entertainment is where you can find all information. Right now, everything is under construction, but all of that will be released on January the 1st. So look out for the Hunter Museum, look out for downtown Chattanooga, and then we've got some other stuff coming. So
I love it.
And then we also got some stuff coming up in June because we will be going to Tampa. So
Ooh,
yes,
you're going nationwide. You're going nationwide. I feel that. Do you?
I'm because Nashville, Knoxville, we've been having a lot of people kind of like reach out. And so I'm just like, yeah, pulling my head out. So.
Oh, wow. I mean, this sounds like a movement. You know what I mean?
So. Yeah. I had somebody tell me directly that it's time, and especially in this area, time for a change, time for people to kind of open up their minds and be willing to, enhance themselves. So we are definitely looking at this as like a liberation movement, and just liberating ourselves, liberating, who we are. We'll have different vendors there, sexual health vendors. I've got a therapist who will be coming by just to kind of talk to everybody. We'll be having different, like the Mary Ellen Loker. So just everybody. I'm trying to get everybody on board so that way we can make sure that everyone knows of everything that is out there. So that way we all have the information.
Yes. Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a crew. Do you feel like a one-woman army, or do you feel fairly supported with your crew? They help you put all this together?
So I pretty much do kind of like putting everything together, like the artistic side of it. I let them create their own pieces. I cannot thank any of them enough. I've got a few on my team that are they drive all the way from Alabama sometimes. We've got some who drive from Atlanta. So I've been praying for people that will, support this movement and support everything that I'm doing and not be, judgmental about it and about the people who are involved. So now it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of coming together. And so, yeah, this crew that I have now is just amazing.
That is awesome. I know that is so helpful.
It is. And it's being an introvert, it's kind of hard. Just because it's easy to have these kind of like one-on-one conversations, but be put into a room with multiple personalities and you're trying to like judge everybody before you start talking. It kind of gets, a little intimidating, but
for sure,
over the years, just putting in that work and everything, it's becoming easier. So
good. That's good. Yeah. So let me ask you this. You had mentioned how like maybe sometimes you are misunderstood and maybe, people do judge plus size women whenever we decide that we want to be sexual, right? It's almost like we don't have permission to do that because of our body size.
Yeah.
It's like, and honestly, I'm real big on doing shadow work. Honestly, with the vitriol and the venom that comes for plus size women when we decide to show our seductive side, that part of our feminine nature, it's almost like it makes them so uncomfortable. You know what I mean? But it's not because we are larger bodied people. It's something within them You know what I mean? It's shadows that they need to work on. What
Yeah.
do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
So I think there's a lot that goes into that. And the reason why I say that is because it all, for me, it goes back to what society has kind of done in a sense. Back in the day, it was okay for bigger women, like if you had a little curves, but you had to cover it up, and
Right.
so how it's always been. And so now, sorry guys, my kids. So now we are up against where, we had that BBW movement. Well, now you got this movement and everybody's on board for the BBWs. Now the skinny people kind of feel left out. And okay, well,
Yeah.
now we got to bring the skinnies back in, and then we
Yeah.
got to bring the BBWs, then we got to bring the skinnies. And so then I think what happens is it kind of creates this big rivalry effect. And so nobody's like coming together. Everybody's just kind of like, oh no, no, I don't want to deal with that big girl. I don't want to deal with, such and such. And so when I've been in situations like that personally, that I feel like is a them problem. And the only reason why I say that is because I've been in rooms where I'm like, yeah, she probably is stuck up. She's this, very judgmental. And I found that it was because at that time I was very insecure with who I was. I was very insecure with situations that I was put in. I was very insecure from my past, different things that I went through in my childhood, teenage years. And so we don't necessarily think about all the things that we go through that make us a certain way. And so when you constantly are being put against each other, there's no reason for you to come together. There's no reason for it. And so that's why even with what we do, it's constantly like no judgment zone. If I'm walking around here with this cellulite, this is my cellulite. I ain't asked you to come over here to shine your light over here. None at all. So stay on. So I just feel like we are constantly being put against each other, and we've got to find that balance of let's not do this anymore. Because when we're constantly put against each other, then we can't work together. We can't get to the ultimate end goal. And women have been put down long enough, men as well.
Yes.
So we've gotta find the balance of what you can handle, what you can't. I'm not saying that everybody has to accept me because I got roles or I'm a BBW, but what I am saying is you shouldn't judge me based off of how I look on the outside, because this is it. It ain't gonna change overnight. So if you
Right.
can't appreciate it now, it's no sense in trying to appreciate it later, because
Right.
once I've done the work and I've put all my time and I tone up, I'm looking for the next tone up. I'm not looking for somebody who's not putting in the work too. So, it goes both ways with male, female, all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you have just in our conversations and in, seeing you do what you do firsthand, it's this what you do for body image. It is not just for women. You've talked to me like you've helped men too. Can you explain a little bit more, like beyond women, who are some other individuals that you serve?
Right. So I've had a lot of people reach out to me from the LGBTQ community. There's men who reach out very often. They want information on, how can they help improve their relationships? How can they help improve, body image? How can they help improve mental health? And we always try to get them to the right resources, because even as a man, like we as women, we're trying to come together and we're trying to put together these shows and different stuff that kind of help us, where we don't have a lot of male involvement because they are insecure and stuff like that. It's something that I've noticed like over the last few years. And so now just having men reach out and talk about their insecurities and dive deep into those, it has been like eye-opening, because you don't necessarily think about that, because they're always told to be so, tough and like they don't really care, but deep down they do. And some of them don't, and that's perfectly fine too. I don't mind either. But as far as the different people that we've got to work with on this spectrum, it can vary from, teenagers. I've had teenagers reach out to my daughter at her school, like, how is your mom so confident? Like, she's beautiful, this, that, and other. And I'm like, y'all, it's not like that. This has come over time. This isn't, it doesn't just happen overnight. And so I think it's important for all of us to really understand that every single one of us is going through stuff, whether it's insecurity about ourselves, our relationships, our friendships, our parents, or anything. Just be kind sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just kind of thinking while you were talking, it's almost like the example that you're setting, like for your daughter's friends, right? Because they are seeing that at play, you are becoming a catalyst for them, because it's going to help them throw off their chains, the things that try to hold them back from living their best lives and being happy within their own skin and being happy in their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so critical for our young people. It's just absolutely critical that they feel good about their bodies. There's no such thing as an abnormal body. I've said that for years. There's no such thing as an abnormal body.
Right.
So we need to be about the business of helping people feel strong, rooted, happy, satisfied in their bodies, because this is going to be our home until we die, right?
Yeah.
And I am so grateful that you have just really been leading the charge for this. You're affecting, women, you're affecting men, you're affecting our young people, you're helping the transgender community, LGBTQ, you're helping everyone. And that is going to have such a ripple effect for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just so powerful. I love your heart. I love your heart.
But I think it comes from, just kind of growing up in backgrounds that you kind of get to see a lot of things that you don't necessarily want to see. And I've seen people down at their lowest, but then still have they still have a person inside of them, regardless of whether people are doing bad stuff or whatever. I've just kind of got to see that. And so over the years, just like being able to see the good and the bad in people, you kind of got to give some kind of leeway, because we're all just out here. Like once you wake up and realize that we're all literally just put here to live, do everything that we want to do, and die. If we're not given anything else in this entire world, we are guaranteed to die. And that is one thing that I live by. And I know that that day is going to come. And I don't know if you watch comedy series, but Dion is a comic. And ever since I heard him say one time, he was like, I only got this amount of summers left. And, whenever you break it down and you think about, if you live to be 70 and you only have 16 summers left until you die,
yes,
it puts it into perspective, And so do I want to constantly keep living my life based off of false realities? Or do I want to live my life and do the things that make me happy and that I see makes others happy? I want my kids to do the things that make them happy. I want their friends to be able to do stuff that makes them happy and not have to worry about the drug aspect of things. Or, I want them to be able to, because eventually
all right. Awesome. Had a little bit of a technical glitch there,
Yeah.
but we are
Easy
back.
technology if you did.
We are back. And so I have a question for you.
Okay.
You and we have talked about um the spice factor, right? Of your
Okay.
of
Yeah.
your shows. And
Yeah.
so like when I was messaging with you earlier, I was like thinking about spice and you know, like this is just me being cheesy, okay? I go to a Thai restaurant or I like Turkish food or Middle Eastern food, right? I have to have my spice mild, okay, or I can't
Okay.
handle it. What do you say? Talk to me about the spice level of your shows, and after that, tell me what you would say to people who can't handle the spice. What would your message be to them?
So I'm gonna start with that one because that is
Okay.
something that comes up all the time. And I always say, if you have any kind of insecurities about your body image, anything like that, I don't want you to sway away. Come and see the spice. And then if you decide if it's too much for you, you can walk out. I'm telling everybody that as soon as they come in. We actually have it set out. So I'll just talk about it basically.
Go for it.
So the shows start out very, very mild. So actually, I'll say sweet. So we start very sweet because we want to kind of let the audience feel how who they think we are. Okay. And so we let you build your perception of who we are the first moment that we come on stage. And so that way you have that. And then we go through the whole thing. Everybody gets to see every cast member. You get to see them in their sweet stage. And then we have intermission where you can go in, see your vendors, and that's where things get mild, is when you go and see vendors, because there's, toys, there's other things that you can, there's other stuff. Okay. And so going from there, we go into our second half, and that's where it kind of heats up. And so as you start out the second half, it will be mildly hot. I'll say if you add a dash of, Tabasco in there, it's getting there. And so we build it up throughout the night though. So the very ending performance is always going to be something that's just kind of like, oh. And so we've had anything from aerialist, my best friend Jimmy, she does pole, and she's been doing aerial silks with the pole and just kind of combining like a superwoman, Superman kind of feel for certain things. So it can get very, very spicy. A lot of the times when you see me on stage personally, I don't have a lot on. So it's very, very spicy.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, just leave once you start getting uncomfortable, just because it can. I've seen it. I've seen people be like, oh, honey, we gotta get on up out of here now. We gotta go.
Right.
We've got like 5 babies under our belt. I've had people reach out to me as couples, just to kind of say, hey, like me and my wife, we haven't been on good terms lately, but after coming to your show, things kind of, we had the conversations, we talked about it, and, we was able to do the deed. And that's something that I love to hear, because if I know that by doing these shows, I can even help out a relationship.
Yes.
That's big. So even hearing stuff like that and hearing, oh, well, I got pregnant after your show. I'm like, oh, I told y'all to use the condom. But
I love that.
So, I'm giving you the information. I'm telling you what to do before you leave. It's up to you to decide on when you leave at the spiciest moment.
That is awesome. That is so funny.
It can get very spicy.
I love that. I love it though, because it's like you're holding space for all levels. You know what I mean? And you're doing it in such a way that when the people are leaving, it's not because they're judging you or they're like, oh, we don't like this. They're leaving because it meets them at the point where they do get uncomfortable, but you've provided them space and education and entertainment and ideas and things that they take home that positively affects their home.
Yeah.
So that is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And that's crazy that you say it that way, because when I did the second show, it was the first show after our very first show. And so I wasn't really expecting the audience that we got, because it wound up being more people that we didn't know. And that's kind of like where it grew from. Because the first show was just like friends, people that we knew really, really close, some family,
Mhm.
like didn't even know why family even came, but they were coming to support us. So,
Aw.
it was,
Yeah.
it was just something. My mama was in the audience. It was
Oh.
But my second show, like people were getting up and walking out. And so I was like, oh, like this hurts, because people are getting up and walking out. And then this couple in particular, they came all the way from North Carolina, and the husband had bought front row seats, VIP, but he didn't think about the wife, being introverted. She didn't want to sit in the front. She would have rather sat in the back, like, that kind of thing. But he sent me a message right after that. And he was like, I just wanted to let you know that my wife enjoyed herself so much. She felt liberated, but she was so uncomfortable by seating. And that wasn't on you. I promise you it wasn't on you. It was on me, because I didn't think about her and the situation. She didn't want to be directly on stage. And when you're directly on stage, unfortunately, you're right up close and personal, honey. And I mean, you get to see everything. There's no anything. We might throw some sweat on you. I mean, you just get what you get in the front row. So, but hearing that, like after they left, that's when I kind of knew, okay, don't be offended about it. It's everybody's comfort level. And so we've got to be able to meet all of those comfort levels. So we've tried to grow on that aspect, and just trying to take into consideration everybody.
Yeah. And I dare say that is one of probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, that seems like that would be one of the hardest bridges to gap. And you have done that beautifully, and you have done that effectively.
Yes. So our audience is one that I've never sat in before. I've never seen. Sometimes I literally will walk off the stage and just kind of let the other hosts handle things, just because I want to kind of see what the audience is seeing from their perspective, because it's different. It's different being backstage. But then when you get out in the audience, nobody is the same. Like we've had some people who like rock. We've had people who like metal. We've got people who like hip hop, rap, all of this. And so we take all of these music genres, because if you meet the cast, every single one of us is different. We call ourselves the geek freaks, because during the day we work professional jobs, like those high professional jobs. And then by night we get to do what we love, and we don't have to feel so controlled after, getting home. So the variety of everything, and being able to sit out in the audience and, get the feel of them. And you would be surprised, because there's people who, it's like non-experienced. All I've ever done in my life is missionary, and I don't know what y'all are talking about. And literally we've had that. And then we've had some people who's like, put me in a dungeon, man, I'm ready to rumble. Like, you get to see like both of the aspects. But when you get to see those two people in the audience like start having a conversation, and then I'm just like, I started that conversation, like we got this going, like, and now this person's like dialoguing with this person. So it's just a beautiful thing, and the audience is just so different, and we never know what we're gonna get. It's just so different, and that's one thing that I just absolutely love, is that how diverse it is.
Yes. Yeah. I was actually just thinking that too. You've just created just I guess for lack of a better word, just this ecosystem that is so organically conducive
Yeah.
to diversity, like in every way, shape, and form. In
Yeah.
every way, shape, and form. And that, kudos to you, because that's hard to do. And
It's
that's
not the easiest. And I know you asked earlier, like, if there's something that I stand firm on, and that is one thing. Like, I'll just say, back in October, like, we have one of our cast members who, and I'll go ahead and bring this out because I know it's going to come up one day in my life. So I'll go ahead.
okay.
But we have one cast member who, she's part of the Satan community. And so they do a lot of things for the community on reproductive health and things like that. And that's called the Satan's Temple in Atlanta. And so when they initially reached out to me, I was like, I was like, baby, it's not that I got anything against y'all. Not saying, I know my beliefs. I can handle my own. I know who I believe in, who my God is. So it ain't nothing like that. But I had to reel it in, and I was like, I can't really preach non-judgment if I'm gonna be judgmental about this, especially when I have a cast member who looks at this as something that's serious for her,
Right.
And I want everybody to feel like they're open. Just because that's her beliefs, it doesn't mean that it's mine. And I can't necessarily look down upon anybody at any time. My granny said, judge not lest ye be judged. And
Mhm.
I live by. And so I try not to judge people, and whoever's judging me, baby, your time will come. And so I think that with that in itself, that taught me like a lesson. Like, you're gonna have to stand up on what you're saying. Because if you're saying you accept them and you're not being judgmental, then you got to show it. And she went out, she done that performance, and she says that it was one of the best performances. So I was happy after that. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
they were able to raise money for reproductive health. She was able to go down. She was able to perform, and it did, it wasn't a big deal as far as, my inner me. I was just like, it's something that made her happy. And if I had to support it by just saying, hey, we support you, then what's
Yeah.
hurt, and everybody is their own person anyway.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm kind of with you. It's like, okay, I know who I am. I know, the core of who I am spiritually, and that's fine. But what you're doing is you're helping people's mental health. It doesn't matter what anybody is a part of.
Yeah.
Mental health is important, and having things in your life to support and promote optimal mental health is, every human being on the planet deserves that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, we're not here to have church. We're here to support each other in ways that bring us together rather than divide us, and everybody miss out on the opportunity to grow and to be healed.
Yep. We spend, I think, because of where we are in the middle of the Bible Belt. And so, it's very Christian based, and I understand that. My grandmother has raised me in the church. I've been in a church since I was born, all the way from baptism. I've been baptized 3, 4, 5 times, because I don't know if you know about Black churches, but you got to repent, and once you go back, you got to come back, and you got to, do certain things. And I grew up as primitive Baptist. And I think just kind of seeing that background and living in it, and, constantly, in a sense, being judged, you kind of grow up with insecurities. There's incidents that have happened to me that I don't feel comfortable, letting the world know about all of the time that has happened in churches. So, you kind of, you outweigh certain things, and I think that's the whole mission behind this, is that yes, we do live in the Bible Belt, and that I completely understand. I respect that 110% because my faith is there, but also at the same time, when I say that, I also know that there are 12, 13, 14, and 15-year-old children who tend to get pregnant accidentally because they don't know that once they start their periods, that means they could possibly get pregnant. There are 13, 14, and 15-year-old boys who are, as I call it, spitting white at a very young age, and they don't know what that means. They don't know if they do pass that virginity stage, that could possibly make them a father at that age. They don't know this. And if they do know this, they don't know the extent of it. I had my first child at 18, and yeah, that was an accomplishment because my mom had me at 15, but that's still young. Looking back on that and being 31 now, I wouldn't put my daughters through that. I would, I'm trying to hopefully, help and guide them and let them understand that you're not really emotionally ready at that age. You're still basically a child yourself. I look at my brothers who I've helped raise since I was 9 years old, and just looking at them, my brother finally made it to 21 to having his baby. So that's another accomplishment. And then if my other brothers, if they take to 30s, that's fine, because then we're not in that 15-year-old stage where you're young and you don't understand life. This world is changing so fast. I mean, even from when I grew up, I know we had a whole lot more freedom than these children do now. But the difference is that these children have a whole lot more information. And so they have more information than we could even imagine. And being a mother of 4 girls, it's scary in a sense, because my children, at any moment could be harmed because they don't know. And it's not because I haven't taught them about their sunshine or no square or these areas that we've talked about all their life, but because I've been put in positions where it's like, hey, come on, let's do this. Come on, let's do this. Come on, let's do this. And then they push you and push you and push you until you just give in. And that is a form of itself, I feel, as rape. So there are certain things that each of us as individuals, men, women, I don't care who you are, what your background is, or anything, there is levels of education that we just don't know about. We're out here figuring it out by ourselves. I know of men who get abused by women on a daily basis, and they reach out all the time. I had no clue. And I will say that when I first started this, I didn't think in any of my mind that a man could get beat up by a woman. Like, that just never crossed my mind. And then when you have brothers, and you see relationships and you see things that they go through, and being the only sister, it's like, damn, like, you trying to be the best sister that you can be, so that way you can be the best wife and the best mother and, all of these things. And then there's women out here who will manipulate you till you have nothing. And vice versa. There's men who do the same, So I think learning behaviors, learning, certain tics, learning certain, things from how your posture is. You can tell a lot about a person just by how they stand next to you. You can tell a lot about a person if you just pay attention to that intimacy, that communication, and all of the senses that you have. Your body naturally tells you if a person is good for you or not. And we kind of talk about that. And that's what we'll be talking about in May as well, because if you don't know, you don't know. And that's where everything goes dark, because then that's when you are able to be manipulated. Then that's when you are able to be, sexually assaulted, put in situations to where you can have these things happen to you. And it's not fun. So where do we draw the line? A lot of the times the men blame the women. A lot of the times the women are blaming the men. Where are we going to stop blaming and just be truthful about what we want as people, what we, don't want, Sometimes we get into relationships, we stay in those relationships because we want things to work, because we're made to believe that you have to be married all the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's not reality.
That's, and we live in a day now where that isn't reality. I mean, if you have access, and that brings me back to Desire Toia, a lot of the times it became sexual. And I would look at it and I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I can make a quick dollar off of this. I can do this, I can do that. And I made those mistakes, and that was cool because I was able to feed my children at that time. And that's kind of like what I don't talk about. But at the end of the day, like, what does that do to the person? Because myself, I know that this has kind of just been a project of my own. But when I was put in certain situations, how did those situations make me feel? And those are the situations that I had to learn from. And I refuse to move forward and let anybody else go through any of the situations that I've been in. And I'm pretty sure that everybody on my cast, because we teach from personal, artistic, everything that we do when we put on the stage, it comes from us. It comes from situations that we've been in. It comes from pain that we've endured. It comes from tears that we've shed over all of this stuff. This is the art pieces that we put together, and you will feel that. And over time, we've just created something that it makes you feel more of you, because you're able to see those situations kind of relate back to your life.
Right. Well, that is amazing. You are amazing. We are approaching about our 1 hour mark. So what I would like to do is give you a chance to tell us about your events, dates, locations, how we can get there to see you. So what you got going?
Right. So first event, most important event, if you're in the Chattanooga area, that is going to be May the 4th, 5th, and 6th. If you don't make it to any of these events, make sure that you make it to May 4th and May 5th. May 4th will start at about 4:00 on that day. It'll be at the Hunter Museum. And so you'll see all of that information go out. You'll also see information about the 5th. It will be at the amphitheater, which is kind of like the little loop-de-loop garden amphitheater that's down under the Walnut Street Bridge, down from the Hunter. And so you'll be able to do that on May the 5th. I'll release the times and all of that information on January the 1st. And then also we will be having our Seductive Desire show on May the 6th. And so that is adults only. The May 4th event will be a free event to the public. We will be taking donations for Seductive Desire Foundation, because now we are trying to help all sexual assault victims, well, as many as we can, just trying to help any sexual assault victims, preteens who are dealing with like preteen pregnancy, if they have questions about sexual health, any of that things, we're trying to get the right resources to be able to give all of that information to them. And so that's what this whole weekend will be about. And then moving from here, we'll be going to Tampa in June. And so you guys can keep up with us on Seductive Desire. If you go to seductived.com, starting on January 1st, you'll be able to go on the website, purchase tickets. You can donate if you want to. There will be art pieces. There's going to be all kind of stuff going on. So that right there is our main event for next year.
Awesome. I am so excited. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. All right. Well, that sounds good. I really appreciate you coming on here, LaToia, so much. I hope you'll come back and join me.
I definitely will.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate you so much.
Well,
and
you.
I look forward to connecting with you even after.
Yep.
And see what you got in mind for me.
Yes, I got you. Okay. I told you already.
All right. That sounds good. All right. Well, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a great night.
Thank you. You as well. Have a good night.
All right.
Be
Thank
careful.
you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.